Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you don't know me, my name is Trey. Appreciate you joining us today. I'm really excited about the panel that we have today. If you've been enjoying these panel discussions and you've seen them in the past, please share this if you think it could benefit someone. Send it to them in a message or share it to your page. And that way we can just reach as many people as possible with this and try to get everybody's activism going. So what do I mean by creativity and special skills? Well, I could mean creativity in an artistic sense. So we do have some artists on the panel today, but also creativity in a general sense, like just using the skills that you have for the animals, something that maybe you haven't thought of before, something that you might use in your everyday life, but you haven't used for activism yet. So I'm really excited to get started. The reason this topic is so important to me is because, there's so many different kinds of people, and all these activists that we have are so different. We all have different skills, and there are some things that some of us can do that nobody else can do, or maybe very few other people can do within the animal rights community. So I really just want this to be about highlighting some of the unique things or the unique ways that we can help animals. So hope you all enjoy it. She's a mother to 4 boys, a teacher, and an artist. She's been vegan for 3 years, and she is a firm believer in change and the power of persistence. She's the founder and driving force behind Times for Change. Joining us from Pensacola, Florida, is Wynn Millican. Heather, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. So Heather is our first repeat guest since I've started doing these panels. You may remember her from a few months ago from our discussion about Christianity and veganism, if you don't know her anyway. So Heather, I'm a huge fan of you as an artist, and the art that you create with Times for Change is just incredible. I'm fortunate enough to have some of that art, and I cherish it. I think it's awesome. So just tell us a little bit about how you got the idea for Times for Change, what it's turned into, and how it's helping animals.
Okay. Well, I've always been a jewelry artist, so it's something that I've been doing for, like 20 years. And it's just a passion. I love to create jewelry. And when I became vegan, I kind of set my jewelry business aside and focused on activism. But then, within that first year, I learned so much about being an activist, and I discovered the Liberation Pledge, which is, taking a fork and making it into a cuff, and it represents that you won't eat with others who are dining on animal flesh. So I thought that concept was super cool, but at the time, as the only vegan in my family, it's just not a pledge that I could take. Like, I didn't want to not sit down and eat with my husband and children. I just couldn't do it. So I don't know, it just got me thinking, how can I use this utensil in a way that's more inclusive to all vegans? And in the same breath, how can I make a piece of jewelry that's gonna benefit activism at the same time? Because as a mother and working full time and being a wife, time can be limited. So I don't know, I came up with this idea, like, what part of the fork, rather than making a cuff, what part of the fork can I use to make jewelry? So I came up with tines. All forks have tines, which the name of my business, Times for Change, comes from. Most people don't know that these are called tines, so I was a little hesitant to even call it that. I was like, these would make really cool earrings. Like, I started experimenting with that. So that was the first thing I made with the fork tines. And anyway, the liberation cuffs that people wear, they're usually made out of non-sterling silver, non-precious metal. So my idea was to take precious metal, pure sterling forks that most people, discard for money. You can find them at coin shops, pawn shops, eBay. Like, people sell them for their alloy. So I wanted to rescue them and turn them into something that had a greater purpose. So I use vintage forks, and I make earrings, pendants. I make liberation cuffs. What else do I make? Oh, rings. I make rings from the fork. So it's been an amazing journey. Just working with forks, and also sponsoring activists. The main focus of Times for Change is every month I choose an activist, whether it be an individual or a sanctuary, or just recently I sponsored someone that fosters dogs, because I know that can be pretty expensive. So every month it's a different activist, and a portion of the month's sales goes directly to that activist. So that's it. It's a creative way to not only do what I love to do, which is make jewelry, but it supports animal advocacy. So it's just a win-win for me, and it's awesome to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible because not only is your art kind of got that vegan and animal rights message, and people are wearing that, and other people are seeing that out in public, but also, yeah, you're taking the funds from that and funding other activism. So it's kind of like a twofer.
Yeah.
I think that's just such a brilliant idea. I think that's so incredible. We're going to talk to Heather more a little bit later. She's an award-winning celebrity body painter and fine artist. She's been an animal rights activist, and vegan since 2016. She was the finalist and first runner-up on the premiere season of body painting reality show Skin Wars on Netflix, and is a body art instructor on Fresh Paint. Joining us from Orlando, Florida, is our friend Shannon Holt. Welcome, Shannon.
Hey, I can hear you.
Hey, awesome, cool. So,
Hey.
so Shannon and I actually met because the first panel that I did here, the Christianity and veganism one, she was in the comments section, and we just got to be friends that way. And I discovered that she was this incredible artist, and then discovered she's on this Netflix show. I've been watching it. I think I'm on episode 4 or something. I'm not done yet, but yeah, we'll see what happens at the end. But yeah, I was so happy that we found each other, and I'm so happy that you're on this panel. And I can't wait for you to share this with everyone. So if you could just tell everybody how you became an animal rights activist and how you eventually merged that with body painting.
Sure. Thanks so much, Trey, for having this panel tonight. So before I was vegan, I was fighting for animals, pets, and I was a big anti-fur, anti-leather activist. I didn't feel comfortable kind of getting in, interrupting people's lives and saying, hey, do you know that Canada, goose jacket is a product of suffering? And I didn't feel bold enough to do that. So, but I had all of these feelings. So I just was really expressive with my artwork. And I started making paintings, anti-fur paintings, and I would incorporate a lot of animals in my work, although I wasn't sure how to get that message across. And my career as a visual artist kind of evolved naturally into body painting, and I was literally just following what I loved to do. And when I got an invitation to try out for Skin Wars, and then I found out that I got on the show, I knew that I had to do some animal rights pieces because Skin Wars. It's a great show. And I wasn't a vegan at the time either. I was vegetarian. But Skin Wars has been seen in like 130 million people's homes, I guess, is what I last heard. So I knew that, I wanted to make a statement and do good. And if I wasn't going to win $100,000, I mean, ideally I would, but the best thing to do would be to try to have a voice for the animals and kind of work it in there wherever. So I think that, being an animal rights activist and using your talents has a lot to do with asking questions about, how you can plug yourself in, and where can you plug yourself in, and where do you want to go? And, my goal as a body painter, after I did my first animal rights body painting, I thought, okay, this is it for me. Like, I want to do this forever. This is what really satisfies my soul. So in the grand scheme of things, like, I'd love to do body painting for PETA or for different animal rights organizations or for independent animal rights activists. And so I basically get an invitation to join a demonstration and use my body painting in a way that makes an impact for the animals. And I really love body painting as a vehicle for asking people questions, because it's so in your face, and that way your words don't have to be as pointed. So like I did a meat tray demo in Austin, and I realized, hey, I can just ask these people that are stopping and looking at the art and being shocked, and I can just ask them, so what do you think about the artwork? And start a conversation in that way. And I found it to be very productive and very effective in getting people to think about their choices and to think about, where these body parts that they're consuming come from, and see the correlation between animals and people, and how we're not that different from each other. So that's how I got my start. After I did my first animal rights piece on the set of Skin Wars, I got kind of addicted to it. And so that's really all I want to do. That's what I want to do now. I was on Facebook and kind of connecting to different animal rights activists. I was just scrolling through and seeing who's vegan, who looks cool, who do I want to be friends with. And I saw this event page that said meat tray demo with Earthling Ed, and the header for it was a picture of nude models in these big styrofoam like meat trays, but they were like in bikinis and just kind of like rolling around in blood. And I was like, eesh. I felt like that was like they're obviously trying to like shock value, which is great, but I thought I could make that better. I could make that better, So I called up the organizer in Austin and asked them if would they have me come, and I could actually make these models look like meat. So it would be like a few steps beyond wearing a bikini and rolling around in blood. They would actually look like, oh, this is a fillet of salmon, or this is a fillet of, cow. So I showed up, I did the project. I work really, really well under stress, and like, I kind of love that adrenaline rush. So I just wanted it to just be banging, and it was great. And now, like, that's all I want to do. So it's largely about following your bliss. And I wrote up a few pointers for people who have talents that I don't want to talk for a whole long time, but I just want to go over them with you guys. So to ask questions, if you're wondering, like, how do I plug my art into animal rights, ask, can I make the standard better? Or how can I make the standard better? How can I improve reaching people? How can I best inspire others? So, like, if you're a visual artist or a musician or a dancer or whatever your art form is, writer, how can you inspire others? Another thing is, when I got started, I am looking at it like, I'm not doing it to make money. Like, I am an artist. Art is how I survive, but I prefer to give away that service for free. Um, so I try to make it so, like, 10% of my artistic gift I'm donating back, okay, to the animals. So so 10% of your craft or your business ideas. A number 4, foster. Even if you're doing art at home and stuff, and people know that you're an artist, if you can foster an animal and be public about that on your Facebook, that will inspire other people who have at-home art jobs to also foster pets. Always talk about being vegan and veganism and vegan food and vegan friends and vegan events at work. So when you're on like a gig, a secular gig, or just I mean, it's hard to be a vegan and not talk about it, right? We're kind of, that's the joke, is everybody knows. But the more that you talk about it, it will spark things in your clients' heads and in your boss's head. And, if you can approach things from a palatable and friendly standpoint, so you're being inclusive instead of exclusive, you'll find that you'll get bigger and bigger and bigger opportunities to step up, and that'll give you a larger platform to speak for the animals. Donate your time. If you're an event planner, donate your time, or if you're good at fundraising, to help a talented person. So a lot of times, like, people who are animal rights activists, that's their income. So if you're someone of means, financial means, or if you're great at planning events, support those people that you want to see on your team, so that it's like, okay, like, I always say, like, if I won $1 million, I would fund an animal rescue. I wouldn't run one, because I know my limitations, but I would give to somebody who can do that. Okay, the next one, almost done. Use your network to help someone else for the animals. Introduce people. Oh, Shannon, she wants to paint for the Animal Rights Conference in California. I know somebody there. So, connect people. That's incredibly helpful, because so much of my day is spent phone calling and emailing and trying to find gigs, and less time doing art. So if you really love the arts, and if you know that this special guest can really make an impact for the animals at a rodeo or wherever, it's so important to connect them. Also, if you have a special skill, like you're a photographer, document, show up, be there for the animals, document the activism. If you're a writer, proofread grants for people. If you're a chef, feed necrovores. Teach others. If you're an accountant, help somebody with their books who's screwed up. Like, you can use if you're helping an activist, you're helping an animal indirectly, or you're helping animals indirectly. And the last thing, and I'm wrapping up now, is to ask what makes you the most fulfilled. I feel like when we're on our path of bliss, and you know, you're just so happy and you're feeling fulfilled and you feel like you're making a difference, if you have that feeling and you can keep that feeling going, that is what's going to be the very most productive thing. And like when I watch Earthling Ed, you know, I listen to him speak, and like I know he's in his element. You know, he's an orator. He's doing what he loves, and to the 10th degree. And you know, when that feeling that you get where it's like, okay, I have to be excellent. Like MeatFree Mikey, right? He's like super into his body and like bodybuilding. He's into excellence. So if you follow that path of what fulfills you inside to be excellent, that will in turn naturally work for the benefit of the animals, because your ethics are aligned with your actions.
You've got me pumped, Shannon. Like I feel ready to get out there and do some activism now. Thanks so much for all of that. Yeah, and I think it's so important what you were saying, like because a lot of people, I even got a couple of comments when I was posting this panel. Oh, I wish I had a special skill, and you know, stuff like that. Everybody's got something to bring to the table, and you kind of went through a lot of different professions or skills. And yeah, I mean, everybody's got something that they can bring. It doesn't have to be an artistic talent. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It doesn't have to be anything that anybody on our panel is going to be talking about today. And necessarily what I'm hoping with this panel is that people will see how other people, all of you, are doing it, and then figure out how they can relate that to their own skill set and their own life and their own activism. So thanks so much for sharing all of that. We'll hear a little bit more from Shannon later on. Right now, I want to introduce our next guest. She is an animal rights activist from Bristol, UK, and uses her creativity as activism to highlight issues around animal rights, veganism, and wildlife conservation. Please welcome next Namoi Joy. Thanks so much for being here, Naomi.
Hey. Hi.
Hey, we're so excited to have you. So I discovered Naomi a couple of years ago or something on Instagram. I saw her amazing paintings of animals, and I was like, oh, I've got to get her to paint my dogs, Onion and Bean. And I did that, and she did such a wonderful job, and I gave that to my partner, Amy, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to top that as a Christmas gift. I don't know. I've been trying ever since then. It hasn't happened yet. But Naomi, just tell us a little bit about your origin story of being an artist and becoming an activist, and how those two worlds just eventually met and turned into what you're doing now.
So I think I've probably been like arty ever since I remember. So probably since I was about 5, I started painting and getting really into it. So that's kind of the career path I've always followed through my whole life. And I remember just feeling a bit confused about what I wanted to do. So I went to university and I did graphic design and illustration. And I was kind of just making kind of little miniature figures and paintings. And I think it's a question a lot of artists find, is you start to be like, what is my style? Who am I in the art world? And I just felt, really confused about what to do, until I went to a wildlife sanctuary and I photographed some of the animals there. And I went back and I painted one of the rescue owls. And that's when I had the kind of eureka moment, a bit like Shannon was talking about, where I just thought, yes, I want to do this forever. Why did I not think about this before? I love animals, got major interest in them, and it turns out I love painting them. So from that moment forward, I thought, right, I've got to work at this. I've got to improve my skills. I want to practice all the time, and I really want to invest in this. I've also been vegan 6 years, so that was already something that was happening in my life at that time. And I think the two just suddenly coincided, and I was like, ah, yes, I'm painting animals. I could actually paint animals to kind of put a message across with things that I'm passionate about. I was also painting the pet portraits, so the lovely Onion and Bean. That was my kind of bread and butter as an artist. So I was painting a lot of commission paintings of dogs and cats and rabbits, and they were mostly clientele I was actually picking up at vegan fairs, which was really nice. So I was still kind of pushing the message of like adopt, don't shop, or fostering, and meeting loads and loads of lovely people through that, who then actually went on to support the artwork that I then started to make that was kind of more from my own heart. So I started to produce a series of farmed animals with flower crowns, because there had been a series of dogs that a photographer had done with flower crowns to try and get them adopted. They were in an animal rescue sanctuary, and I thought, that's such a lovely idea, but I bet if I put them on farmed animals, people would see those animals differently. So I started off with a pig and put it on that, and like I thought, everyone was like, oh, this pig is so cute, oh, it's lovely. And then I kind of told the backstory of how it was on a farm, and it kind of shocked people. And the cow that I had painted also actually sadly was taken at a vigil, and the calf actually went on to then get slaughtered. So it's kind of in memory of all those animals that have been murdered, but showing it in a really beautiful way, because I know a lot of artists who kind of do the very hard-hitting, more, I don't know how you explain it, sad aspect of it, and I think I wanted to kind of show also the other side, that animals are really beautiful and have unique personalities. The chickens that I photographed were from a battery farm, and to go back and see them months later when their feathers had grown back was really amazing. So to kind of celebrate that chicken, and that had a happy story of actually now it's living happily on a farm in the UK and enjoying its life, I think is quite a nice message behind it, and has sparked so many conversations with people at non-vegan events as well, and has really made people think and consider kind of how they see art. And then here in the UK, we also have other issues that we're fighting, such as the badger cull. I don't know if you have badgers in the UK. I think in America, I think you have honey badgers, but we have black and white badgers that live in forests here, and unfortunately the government is killing them every year between certain dates around October. So we're actively fighting against that and trying to get out on the ground and stopping badgers from being killed. So a lot of my artwork has been around badgers and their beauty and what they bring to our kind of ecosystem, and also to bring awareness of how many are actually being killed. Just 10 miles from my home, there are badgers being killed every year, and it's devastating. And we also have fox hunting, so some of my work is around that. I also don't know whether anyone else knows about that, but it's when they hunt with horses and hounds, and the foxes unfortunately get torn up. So we're out fighting that weekly during the season. So a lot of my artwork is actually inspired by the things that I'm actively engaged in and fighting for. And I also do wildlife rescue, just add in another thing to what I'm doing. So it feels like I kind of found my passion, and it all linked together, because those are the animals I'm fighting for. I'm painting them, I'm managing to put my message across whenever I can, and I'm fortunate enough that people seem to like what I'm doing, so that's always nice. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to this place.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I think another aspect of that as well is because you were doing a lot of these companion animal portraits, people probably went to your page, people that maybe weren't vegan or, maybe not anti-speciesist or whatever. And they maybe found some of your other work and maybe found, like some of the stories behind that stuff. And I think that's such an important like gateway because, so many of us, I mean, there are a lot of people, I'm sure, who love their pets so much, or their companion animals.
Mm-hmm.
They will, spend money to get a painting of them because that's how much they cherish them. But when it comes to different species of animals, they're on their plate and they pay for the murder of them. So I think something too about your work is just, I think it probably helps people make that connection because they're going through your Instagram or your website and, looking at some of this other work. And yeah, I mean, when I saw your work, I knew I had to being, I'm so happy that we found each other in that way. And happy that you're here doing this. Happy I've got a painting in our living room that we get to enjoy all the time. It just makes us so happy to look at.
I'm so pleased. It's so lovely to be able to do work for people like that and kind of stay in touch and make these connections. It's brilliant.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll hear more from Naomi here in a bit. Thanks so much for being with us, Naomi. I know it's getting late in the UK. So appreciate her being here with us. So our next guest, can't wait for you to meet him. It's hard to believe, but he's only been an animal rights activist for 1.5 years, but he's done so much during that time. He's organized and been a part of outreach events, protests, vigils, disruptions, rescues, marches, and more. And while he aims to bring awareness to the animals and inspire people to go vegan, his main drive is to motivate vegans to be active. From Georgia, it's the one, the only, MeatFree Mikee. MeatFree Mikee, what's up, man?
What I do? Thank you very much for that introduction, Trey. That's awesome.
Yeah, bro.
I can't believe it's been like 1.5 years only. Doing so much and just looking back on it.
Yeah, it was the same for me, man. Like as soon as I went vegan, I wanted to hit the ground running. It didn't take too much time, and obviously you've done just that. You've inspired me so much with your activism too, man. I just appreciate all you do, and without all the mushy stuff, we'll get into it. So appreciate you joining us. Earlier this year, you had a campaign called "Make Mikey Hurt for the Animals," and it's a lot of what I think Shannon was talking about. Just using something you're good at or something that you're passionate about. It doesn't necessarily have to be like artistic or something. Just make it happen. Like make it happen for the animals. So tell us about Make Mikey Hurt for the Animals, how it worked out, how you came up with the idea, and what you were able to achieve with that campaign.
Awesome. I would love to tell you and all the viewers all about that. But first, Trey, I'm going to hold you there real quick because knowing me, anyone that's viewing right now, MeatFree Mikee likes to throw wrenches at everything, right? Just disrupt.
That's
anything. True. Yeah, even if it's like a good thing. So, Trey, I'm having you here because for the viewers, how much do you guys enjoy these panels that Trey has been putting out, right? So Trey has a panel for this event in particular for using creativity and special skills, right? And the thing is that it's not being mentioned that Trey, with his talent and special skills, that he's putting these things where he's organizing like a video panel with all these talents that are speaking. So this is exciting. I am super glad to be a part of it. I'm very honored, but I'm sure everyone is enjoying like all these videos that Trey's been putting out. So please, 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 right now, drop those love reacts, heart shapes, heart.
Well, the panels have been good, but they're only so good because I know some incredible people that have a lot to put into these panels, a lot for people to learn from. So I'm just thankful to everybody that's been a part of one so far, and happy to have you here now.
Awesome.
So tell us about Make Mikey Hurt for the Animals. What's up?
Okay. So for the viewers out there, that's something that Trey totally did not expect, nor the other panels. But okay, so I'll finally talk about myself, and I'll explain myself a little bit with my background, why it's so dark. This is so irrelevant to the topic. It's just that my kitchen is really messy, so that's why I have this certain cinematic effect to where it's just me and not so much the background, right? So, like what Trey's been, what he mentioned is that earlier this year I did this campaign called "Make Mikey Hurt for the Animals," and what it is that it's a fundraiser, but not like a typical fundraiser where you can see on Facebook. And yeah, there we go. Like that's how fast I was doing it. um, it's a fundraiser to where like I'm making it fun, right? Because at this time during COVID-19 hit, uh, pretty much everyone was just at a standstill. People are stuck at home, right? And like we're all having a hard time. But the thing is that we tend to forget like the others that are having a hard time. Really, the ones that have been having a hard time this whole time, which is the animals. So I started thinking like, oh man, if we are stuck at home, you know, and we're barely keeping it together, some people are losing their jobs, you know, hours cut or losing their jobs. What more about these sanctuaries, right? These sanctuaries are really dependent on people donating, uh, sponsorship, and even if you can't support them financially, it is all about investing your time into helping out the sanctuary itself, you know, doing animal chores. And that's like not happening during COVID-19. So I was like, shoot, what can we do? When we can start a fundraiser, but the thing is like everyone's already doing a fundraiser to help each other out. So I was like, you know what, let's make this a little bit better. Since I like working out already, what I can do is that, hey, there's going to be a challenge to where put in your monetary donation and I will match the amount with whatever workout that you guys request. So not only is this helping the animals because all the funds that are raised goes towards the animals and like the sanctuary itself for, you know, like upkeep and whatnot, but it also like I show workouts, you know, I do little tidbits on like tutorials on it, and it helps out people who are stuck at home doing home workouts because maybe like this is the first time they've been doing home workouts, you know, like what can I do, push-ups, sit-ups or something, and then like just kind of like Google some other stuff. So I'm doing like these samples to where people can not only enjoy viewing me hurt or whatever and donate to the animals, but they can also try something new, you know, something that can benefit them too. So it was great. It was a month long, well, not really a month long. It's like a 3 week campaign. And within those 3 weeks, we were able to fund, not me, we, like the people that have been donating, were able to fund three sanctuaries. So the sanctuaries are the Treaters Retreat Sanctuary, Mini Farmer Sanctuary, and Peace and Serenity. So pretty amazing stuff because like it's just for that short time we're able to help out three sanctuaries. And if you think about it, like it's not one animal per sanctuary, there's a lot of those animals per sanctuary. So um what's the whole point of this? The whole point is that you don't have to really prepare or like really like be born with talent or be talented or something. um it is really all about like the actions that you do, right? uh, when I became an activist, I waited 6 months. Sorry, before I became an activist, I waited 6 months to prepare for activism. Um, and then it just dawned on me, like, it's not about the preparation, it's about the action. Because if you think about it in a way where, let's say today, that you, the viewers, you are not an activist yet, but want to be, but you're like stuck on that preparation. So you're taking today to prepare. You're kind of saying like, you know what, I want to help the animals, but not today. You know, so that's my mentality on it. After that 6 months of preparing, I'm like, why have I not done anything? You know, why am I not taking action yet? I can learn along the way, and I can use the talents that I learned. I'm not really talented. but I can use the talents that I learn along the way to help others, right? And that goes with meeting other people too, because they can inspire you to do other stuff. I mean, just with this panel alone, we have artists that do painting, body painting, and jewelry, right? And then there's like another panel, a member of the panel that's going to be after me. But they've all done some great stuff that I'm not even truly been aware of. Heather, what we have for Times for Change, I wasn't quite aware of her activism through jewelry until maybe like late last year. And thanks to Heather, she actually picked me up to sponsor me for Times for Change the month after the sanctuary. So it's all about action. What other members of the panel would say is that like find something that you really like doing, you know, and then just kind of expound on that, explore on things. And if that's not really for you, try another, you know, find your calling. And really, that's like my biggest advice on this, you know, action, action, action. It really all starts with you. You don't have to be a certain person of a certain position with a certain voice. You know, everyone has the same capacity to do something. And that is my tidbit for that one. And I think we'll end it right there.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I think you brought up such a good point with, you know, waiting that 6 months to get active. You know, that can be a killer. You know, you're just like waiting until you're ready. And of course, some things do take prep in order to succeed, but there's some things you can just get out there and do. And yeah, and the other thing I'll say about that is I don't remember how long I waited to get active when I became vegan. It wasn't long, but it was a while before I made this connection. Like, I'm a video person. I edit videos and stuff like that. Like, why have I not been using this? You know what I mean? And ever since I realized that, you know, I've done some different things. I've made some short videos for other activists, and I'm working on a documentary right now. And, you know, I mean, not everybody can video edit. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I'm doing this panel, because I want everybody to realize that they have something that they can bring to the table. I'm not saying don't go, you know, do your vigils and your protests and your outreach events and stuff like that. Do those too if you want to. Of course, I do those, and I love doing those. But yeah, if you have a special skill, if you have something to bring to the table, if you have something that maybe nobody else can do, or not a lot of people can do within our activist community, then absolutely, you know, figure out a way to make it happen. So thanks.
Right. And the thing is that it goes with inspiration, right? So I don't think I've ever shared this with you yet, Trey, but seeing your videos online inspired me to like try to edit videos and like produce them. So the videos that I have up to this point, yeah, definitely like something you have like a great influence on that one. And background story before that is that I had zero experience with video editing, you know, so I worked it along the way. So just try it, you know, just try, like with people with special skills, you know, push your talents out there, because you never know if like you can inspire others to do the same or something that they can try of similar value, you know, and that maybe they can be the next Trey Morrow.
Well, I definitely hope people get inspired by this panel, and I know that they will. Thanks so much for what you did with that campaign, Mikey, and for being here and sharing it with us and inspiring some people today. We'll get back to Mikey here in a little bit. We have one more panelist that I cannot wait to introduce. She's been vegan for 6 years, and she has found a way to do activism through video games. It's my pleasure to introduce Victoria Sursely. Victoria, thanks so much for being here with us.
Hi, Trey. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Victoria plays this game called Animal Crossing. I've never played it myself, but I saw some screenshots from it and how she was doing activism through this, and it's like a light bulb went off in my head. I was just like, this is so cool. Like, there's just so many ways to do animal rights activism. I've never really even thought about doing it in a video game. I'm so stoked for you to share this with everyone. So yeah, can you just tell us a little bit about it? I've been eagerly waiting to hear about your inspiration behind this. Just tell us about your strategy for activism through this game and how it's worked out.
Yeah, so finding ways to do activism in my everyday life has always been like a huge interest of mine. And especially because of COVID-19, it's become more apparent than ever that we need to find more ways to advocate for animals and send the message of animal liberation virtually. And I guess right now, currently, my personal favorite is to do animal rights activism while I'm playing the game Animal Crossing New Horizons. So Animal Crossing is like one of the most popular games right now. All of my closest friends are playing it. I pretty much can't go very long at all without hearing about it. So I think they sold like 15 million copies in the first few months, which is like crazy for a video game. Uh, a lot of the methods that I'm sharing today are going to be mostly useful to people who play the game online because that's how you interact with other players. I feel like I've been able to plant a lot of seeds with people who would have usually just been playing a regular video game, you know. I find other people to play the game with on a Discord server called Nookazon. There, at any given time, there's probably like 100,000 people online who are eager to play with you, to trade items with you, and host events. The first thing I'm going to talk about, which really just ties into like every single aspect that I'm able to do activism on Animal Crossing, is Animal Crossing has this really cool feature where you can design your own clothes. So basically you can make t-shirts, dresses, and hats, and you can wear them. And I usually wear the designs when I'm going to other people's islands. I wear them when they're coming to my island. And also you can put the designs that you make on shop signs, on like little signposts. I think that my favorite thing to do in the game to get people to like see my clothes and stuff is to host events. So basically, I'll host an event through the Discord server and have people come to my island. The most popular way to get people to come to your island is through meteor showers. So you can basically get like, I think it's 8 people at a time to come to your island. And I've had the opportunity to spark some really cool conversations. Me and my best friend, who's also an activist, we spend a lot of time playing the game together. And sometimes one of us will pretend to be like a decoy. So I'll come in my Dominion hat and she'll be like, oh, what's Dominion? Like pretending she doesn't know what it is. But like it's this crazy documentary, like it changed my life. It's much better than Tiger King because Tiger King is like super sensational right now. And people will be like, oh, like I guess I'll watch it. And yeah, it's just really cool. You get to interact with a lot of other people. Another way that I like to like spread the vegan message is when I go to other people's towns for events or just to trade items. Everyone on their island has a billboard where it's like open to anybody to write on. So I'll actually sneak into their town and then write Watch Dominion on their billboard. Be like, Watch Dominion, it's free on YouTube, or watchdominion.com. Yeah, another thing is everybody in the game has a passport. So basically on your passport, there's like a picture of you. And in my passport picture, I'm wearing like my in speciesism hat. And you have a customizable phrase that you get to pick yourself. And then on top of that, you have like a title that you can unlock through playing the game. My personal favorite is Animal Defender. Some of my friends use like Animal Pal, Animal Friend. Another cute one is Herbivorous Consumer. And actually when you visit other people on their islands, it puts up a screen that says like me and be like, oh, Victoria from the Island Sanctuary is coming and her title is Animal Defender. And then I show up in my little like in speciesism hat. I feel like the in speciesism one is a good one because not everybody knows what speciesism means or like what it's all about. So I feel like it makes them more inclined to look it up. So yeah, that's just some of the ways that I like to shove animal rights activism into my favorite video game. So I get to play my favorite video game and advocate for the animals at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I'm so happy to finally like just hear about this because I kind of saved it and didn't ask you too much about it. I wanted to like hear about it for the first time here on the panel. So, but just when you sent me the screenshots for this, I had already seen a couple of screenshots, but when I saw the ones that you sent me through email, I just got so excited. I was like, this is so cool because I haven't really played video games for a long time, but I used to play Xbox Live back in the day. And so I do understand, you know, how that online world works and how it's interactive and things you do are going to be seen by other people around the world. And in this game in particular, I haven't played Animal Crossing, but just from looking at it, it kind of reminds me of the old Pokemon games from when I was in middle school that I used to play on Game Boy and stuff like that. So yeah, I can imagine how that would work so nicely, like in an online world where you're having these.
It's such a popular game, and it like the focus on the game is so heavily on animals. So I feel like it really just like you're already speaking to people who like say that they love animals. And I know on my island personally, I went with my island's name is Sanctuary, and on my island I have all of like, you know, like frequently farmed animals like pigs and cows and chickens. And I feel like it's so cool that someone can come to my town and like see their favorite villager who is a cow wearing a t-shirt that says dairy is scary. And I'm like, oh, dairy is scary. What? And it's such a cool way to like open up that line of communication with people that I don't think people realize.
Yeah, I can't stop smiling just thinking about it. Like it's just so cool. It's such a incredible way to catch people kind of off guard too, really, because they're in here playing this, you know, game, and all of a sudden there's this heavy animal rights message. And if they actually do YouTube Dominion, they're gonna learn a couple of things about
they're gonna learn a couple of things.
Yeah, they're going to learn a couple of things about what animals go through. And obviously, like if they do go to that, they're not going to be able to unsee what they've seen when they go check out Dominion. And I loved what you said too about speciesism. Like not everybody has heard that word. Maybe they don't know what it means. Maybe they can gather what it means, even if they haven't heard it before. But yeah, just sparking that conversation. So
sparking the curiosity too.
Yeah. So,
because me and my friends will do it at the same time. So they have 3 people rolling in with Watch Dominion hats on. They're gonna be like, what the heck is Dominion?
Yeah, so in the game, can people just like start a conversation with you based on whatever? Like, is that
there's like an in-game chat. So I've had some cool conversations with people, especially when we like do a decoy. Like my best friend will pretend she doesn't know what Dominion is and like ask me like, oh, what's Dominion? Like, oh, it's this crazy documentary. You have to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And it's so cool too, because in this virtual world, unlike being out on the street at a protest or like an outreach event or something like that, there's kind of this casual nature to it. And also you already have something in common with whoever comes up because you both love this game and you're playing this game. I mean, it just feels like maybe it might even, I don't know because I haven't done it, but it may even be a little easier to start a conversation there.
Yeah, I would say so, especially because a lot of times you're showing up with like mutual benefit, right? It's like for a trade. I know that my best friend, who's also an activist, she did this really awesome event where she was giving away beekeeper hives for free to anyone who was willing to like learn a couple facts about how bees are exploited. So people were willing to like show up to her island to get a free beekeeper's hive and have to listen to like some facts about bees. And she had this really cute setup with like the hives and like little custom signs that said like, oh honey, buy bees for bees, and like be kind to bees. So I feel like there's just so many opportunities in Animal Crossing just alone, not even to mention other video games, where you can advocate for animals.
Yeah, that's just, oh man, that's so awesome. It reminds me of an event I did like not long after I went vegan. It was Valentine's Day the next year. So maybe it was almost a year after I went vegan, but it was Valentine's Day, and me and then some other activists that had organized it, we just had like a laptop on a table, and we had some free candy. And we basically said, like, if you watch this 1 minute video, we'll give you a piece of chocolate or whatever. And of course it was vegan. And yeah, so that's kind of like what you're doing here with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, but they're getting that piece of the game.
We've been giving away free stuff a lot just so we can go to people's islands and like write on their billboards.
That's so cool. And I haven't played video games in so long, but this honestly really makes me want to play video games, because I could like really get behind it, because a lot of the reason I quit video games is because, like I was like, oh, this is taking up too much of my time. I'm not being productive. But you're like having fun with this game and also like making a difference for animals at the same time. Like, it's so,
my two favorite things.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I hope that this conversation will open up other gamers' minds to not only Animal Crossing, the game, but other games as well, and hopefully it'll encourage other people that don't even play video games to. I mean, like, this is how far outside the box that we can think to do our activism. I mean, I just love it. I'm in love with the concept of doing this activism through video games. I think it's so cool. Thanks so much for sharing that. We'll hear a little bit more from Victoria later. Man, that's just so cool. So if anybody has any questions, leave them in the comments. So we're gonna talk a little bit more to some of our panelists right now. But if you have a question, drop it in the comments. If you have a question for a particular panelist, write that in your comment. And yeah. We want to answer your questions and everything like that. So up next, real quick, I'm gonna bring MeatFree Mikee back. He's got something he wants to share with us real quick. Go ahead, Mikee.
All right. So thank you very much, Trey. This is gonna be real quick. This is all to all the viewers. Extremely amazing line of panelists that we have, right? And it's all just so unique on what they do. So my challenge to the ones that are watching right now, if you guys have an idea, or if you guys already have that special talent, put that in the comments too, because maybe that can spark some ideas for others. Be like, you know what? I actually do that stuff already. Maybe I can like really hone into revisiting that talent and using it for activism. So it's just something, like a little like brainstorming thing. So drop in the comments like the things that you guys like to do, and then maybe we can like turn that into like a form of activism.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm sure that some of the people in the comment section probably have some really cool ideas that we haven't thought of either. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, Mikee. Appreciate that. I wanted to throw up this comment real quick. So Lauren, who's a friend of ours and the best friend that Victoria was talking about, she said Victoria is also a whole artist. Her clothing designs in the game are A++. I agree. I was so hyped about the clothing in the game. Like, I just think that is so cool. So Dana says, I'm always happy to cut hair to raise money for you all. Any other ideas for hairstyling? I'm also very open to. Yeah, I mean, that's great. I think that's so awesome. So if we can't find a way to like take our skills and directly apply it, I mean, this is kind of like what Mikee did. He used something that he likes to do and allowed it to raise money for sanctuaries, or in this case, maybe an activist or something like that. I just think that's so awesome. It's a way that we can all use what we do for the animals, and I'm really glad that the creative juices are flowing here in the comments, and people are thinking about what they can do with their with their own special skills. Christopher here says, yes, Dana, that is so true. And Chris, he just made an Instagram post today. If you don't follow him, at Soul Eubanks, there might be an underscore between there. I can't remember. You can drop it in the comments, Chris. But yeah, Chris is an amazing photographer, and he's posted some photos from a vigil that we were at the other day, and that's just another great example of using your special skills for the animals. Mateus says, I do photography and want to use it for helping animals. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do that. I mean, you can do that through going to a vigil and documenting what's going on, taking photos of the animals, linking up with activists in your area where you can cover any kind of action that's going on. Because when activists do an action out on the street, it goes so much further if there are good photos to share online, like eye-catching and emotional photos. So that's a great form of activism. I did a lot of vigils last week, and one of them we had a pro photographer come out, and he was amazing. And that post went so much further because of that. It really does make a difference. And just, looking at the image and seeing that crisp, I mean, so we should always use what we have. So, I mean, I use my cell phone all the time, and it works and it's effective. But having those crisp, sharp, nice, high quality photos, it makes all the difference in the world. And yeah, Chris says, yep, at Soul_Eubanks. Thanks for the shout out. Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you. So keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming. While we're getting some more questions rolling in, I just wanted to bring Heather back for a minute and ask her a question. So Heather, just tell us about what advice you might have for any new animal rights activists, especially relating to like special skills and talent, if you want.
Sure. But I wanted to say first about being a photographer. You could also use that skill to help other vegan artists. Like I take my own photos, but I am not a professional photographer. I use my iPhone to take all my photos. So perhaps if, photography is your passion, reach out to an artist and say, hey, can I take pictures of your work? And I think that would be a great way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, photography is one of those things. I mean, there's just so much that you could do with it. I mean, the options are seemingly endless, with that one. So absolutely.
But okay, so your question was how
advice for new activists.
For new activists.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know for me personally, when I became active, I mean, I was an organizer for AB, so my first form of activism was doing outreach, and I was completely petrified. I was like, okay, how do I approach people? What do I say? What do I ask? And so I went online and, I researched all different forms of outreach, all the different, like Joshua Entis, Earthling Ed, like Joey Carbstrong, like everyone has their own way of doing outreach. And you just have to find which one, is comfortable for you. And, the more you do it, the easier it gets. But other than doing outreach, there's so many ways to be active. Like you can do chalking on the sidewalk, just get some friends and some chalk and decorate the sidewalk with animal advocacy quotes. Or like Mikey had a great video a while ago about teaching people how to do activism in the grocery store. And I think that's a great form of activism. Like we all go to the grocery store and shop all the time. So, while you're there, do a little rearranging. Mikey can explain what activism is, but yeah, there's so many ways to get involved. Just, I think panels like you're providing, Trey, like this is a great way to help people get motivated and inspired. Like just hearing all these others on the panels, like I'm so stoked. I'm like, my head is like full of, oh my gosh, I want to do this, this, and this. Like I'm so inspired by
Yeah, me too. And that's one of my favorite parts about these panels is I get inspired by all the other activists. And I do have a background in like television and stuff like that. It kind of relates with this, but you know, I'm not doing this with a bunch of like really expensive equipment or anything. But I definitely I don't consider talking in front of the camera one of my special skills. But I can get on here long enough to introduce other people who are awesome. Yeah,
You're a great interviewer. Like actually my husband, that's what he does as a professional. Well, he doesn't interview people, but he produces a show where people are interviewed, and he's like, yeah, you're pretty cool.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of a like a producer background, so I think I know how to ask questions. It's just I don't really like being on camera, but it's worth it. It's worth it to do show all these awesome activists and stuff like that. So yeah, appreciate it, Heather. If you have a question for Heather, drop it in the comments and shout it out specifically to Heather. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll hear from Heather a little bit more later, but yeah, Mikey wanted to say something about the photography. Before you get started, Mikey, Chris said, I've done volunteer photography work for sanctuaries before. And yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, Chris has done some stuff for Full Circle Sanctuary. And I think some of that stuff was like auctioned off and, helped the sanctuary raise money, stuff like that.
Yeah, and Chris really does take amazing photos, and so amazing. Like he even has that as like a I don't know the proper term for it, but some form of reward for his Patreon followers. So definitely amazing stuff. So the thing I want to bring up on photography, and really for any of these special talents, is that think about it this way: not only are you helping the animals when you use it for activism, but you're also helping yourself because you're exposing your work, you're exposing your talents. So you're making yourself more marketable, right? Because you're putting your art and your talent out there. So that's a little bit of a benefit to this. So it's not always like a push and give, but you also receive too. So if, I don't know, it's kind of selfish, but if maybe inspiring for people to do it, there's some form of incentive to it. Rolling back into what I said about like exploring like your skills and whatnot, you don't have to really be like this person of great talent or whatnot. Just try something because it may work, right? So I'm gonna show you this picture. So this picture is something that I made and posted for PETA, and it turned out to be really awesome. It had so many it was such a hit, so many likes. Even like PETA was like, you know what, like you won like this contest, and then like they sent me something, and I was like, I didn't even know this was a contest. I just wanted to do this purely to raise awareness for the animals. And what it is the bathtub challenge, for SeaWorld. Raising awareness about like the orcas kept in captivity, and really like tubs scaled to their size, right? And that's their home. So what I did, this is the picture that I did, right? And if you guys can see, so I'm in the tub, and then I wrote SeaWorld kills, and then there's like blood everywhere, right? So get this. So I've never done anything like this before, and the writing on the wall is just with those bath crayons, and then the blood is that the bath dye. In particular, it comes in a little Elmo can. So you don't have to have like these special skills and talents right off the bat to start advocating for animals. Just try something, and who knows, maybe it could work. Raise that awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, why not put yourself out there and just see what happens? It doesn't always have to be a skill you already have or something like that. Sometimes it's just an idea, right? Like sometimes you just come up with an idea. And if you have an idea, try to execute it yourself. Or if you're not able to execute it for some reason, maybe there's somebody else who can, like team up with them, team up with somebody else and make it happen together. If you have a really good idea for activism or a way to help animals in general. You know.
Right. Plus, collaborations are always so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully this panel will inspire some collaborations from people too. Just learning about each other, all the activists in our community, and what we all have to offer and stuff like that. I mean, I just think that's so important as well. So appreciate that perspective, Mikey. We will hear from Mikey at least one more time before we get out of here. But next, I want to bring Naomi back real quick. Just a reminder, drop your questions. If you have a question for one of our panelists specifically, put that the question is for them, and drop it in the comments, and we'll try to get it going. But I wanted to bring Naomi back because not only is Naomi this incredible artist, but she deals with bats. So can you just tell us about the bats? I saw one of your Instagram lives like not that long ago, and I don't want to give it away, but I saw some of what you were doing with bats, and thought it was so cool. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm part of different kind of wildlife rescue groups in the UK, and one of the ones I'm part of is a bat rescue. So we rescue injured bats, and members of the public kind of find them on the ground, or their cats often bring them in, and they have kind of holes in their wings or other injuries, and we rehabilitate them. So behind me in my studio, I've actually got a bat flexi, we call it. So I share my studio with bats, and I'm often receiving them into my studio, giving them treatments, checking on them, and then eventually, if they heal, the best outcome is that we release them back to the wild. So that live I did recently was me releasing a bat back into the wild, into someone's garden, which is always so lovely. At the moment, I am preparing any day to get baby bats. This time last year, I already had 2 baby bats that I was hand rearing. So as well as painting, every 2 hours, I am feeding them round the clock, even throughout the night, and trying to keep these really, really tiny, minuscule, beautiful creatures alive. And we had a whole clutch of them last year that me and other people in our rescue network hand raised, and they all went back to the wild, and it was so beautiful to see that. And I've now just got involved in another rescue, and we're starting to rescue other wildlife like birds, and we had a slow worm. I don't know if you have those over there. So we're getting more and more animals in, and that's also been really interesting because some people involved in the kind of wildlife conservation and rescue world don't often consider that they're saving a baby seagull, but then going home and eating a chicken. So I've had some really interesting conversations being like, hey, I literally spent a month feeding this baby bat every 2 hours to keep it alive. But you're then going home and eating another animal. It's strange that we're working so hard to keep one animal alive but not the other. So I'm trying to really read up a lot about anti-speciesism and talking to people about that in that kind of work as well, and that's been really interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible, and sort of like what we're talking about with your art. They care about these particular companion animals, and then maybe they do some of the research on some of the other art you've been doing of farmed animals and animals that are hunted in nature, and all of that. So I think it's so awesome that you do that too, and kind of you're hands-on with the animals. That's really cool. And yeah, I think it not only does it directly help those animals, but yeah, like you said, it helps other people make that connection to the animals that are on their plates, or the animals that they wear, or whatever the case may be. So
and I also say, like someone else said earlier, every time someone buys or commissions a piece of work from me, they're indirectly kind of supporting me as an artist, so that I actually have this time and flexibility to go out and rescue these animals and fight for the animals being killed, and whatever else needs doing. So I really appreciate when anyone supports me, because it helps me directly help those animals.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even really think of that, but yeah, I mean, when someone purchases a work of art from you, yeah, they're fueling some of this other activism indirectly. I think that's yeah, something to think about. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing all that with us too. We'll hear from Naomi at least one more time. Someone said bats are so cute. Yes, they are. I've seen some of those bats, and my dog Bean that Naomi painted for me. I I joke sometimes and call her my little fruit bat because she sort of looks like a bat. Callie says, I became a freelance virtual assistant and donate some of my time and work to sanctuaries. That's so incredible. Just another way that we can use some of the stuff that we know how to do and direct that toward helping animals. That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Lauren says, how can I download Victoria's designs in the game? So I'm going to bring Victoria on just real quick to answer that question. Yeah, how do we download it? If I start playing Animal Crossing, I'm definitely going to want to do this. So let's go.
I don't know if you can pull up just the picture of my passport.
I can try.
At the bottom of my passport is my creator ID. So if you wanted to download my designs, you could just take a screenshot of my creator ID. Oh, yep, there it is. And then go into your Able Sisters and type my creator ID into the design kiosk, and you can download any of the designs that were posted here today.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Lauren. I don't know anything about the game, so I wouldn't have known to ask that question. So awesome. Thanks so much, Victoria. Let's see if we have some other questions. We do. I'm going to bring, before we get to the questions, I'm going to keep the questions coming. Do not stop asking questions if you have one. We'll get to them all if we can. I'm going to bring Shannon on one more time before we answer a few more questions. And Shannon, I've got a question for you, but before I ask it, I just want to see if there's anything in particular you would rather say before I ask you the question.
Oh, sure. I do want to hear your question though, but before I go, I just want to mention I am very inspired by an artist named Amy Berkman, and you can follow her on Instagram at Amy Berkman Official. And she goes all around the country and does these live paintings for charity auctions, benefits, conferences, and much, much more. She makes her entire living doing charity events. So I'm just so impressed with her. And she does the kind of painting where, you don't know what it is until the last minute, and she spins it upside down, and oh my God, it's a cow. And
yeah, the big reveal.
Yeah, it's a big review. Exactly. So that's entertainment. That's called arts entertainment. So as a body painter, that's also something that I do is arts entertainment. So everybody who, has a conference or has an event, a charity event, there's a budget to hire entertainers outright. So maybe you want to, make a deal with them. Like, I can do this service for you for, I'll donate whatever, and then, it'll go on an auction, and then I'll get whatever percentage back. So that's how a lot of art activists survive, because, everybody's got 9-to-5 jobs. If you're not an artist, or if you're not like an independent contractor, it makes it possible to do those types of actions. And a point that I spoke with her today, and a point that she said was that makes art activism, especially from an entertainment perspective, so special, is that people don't ever get to experience live art, and live painting in person. And so it's there's an entertainment quality, but there can also be something else there that's purchased at the end, that's on the auction. So you got to watch a painting be made, or watch a body painting be made, or experience what it's like to have a roaming model body painted moving through the crowd. And then at the end, there can be like a print that's on the auction, or maybe that painting that was created live gets sold. Another thing that she said that I wholeheartedly agree with is to reach out to the nonprofits that you resonate with. So if you say you have a passion for goats, like I love goats, right? So my favorite goat charity is Goats of Anarchy. So if I work with Goats of Anarchy, I would contact them and say, hey, my name is Shannon Holt. I'm a professional, award-winning celebrity body painter, or whatever your title is. And I want to help you raise money for the goats. Do you have any benefits coming up? And let's work together, and let me shoot you a professional email that has images of my work attached. Like I do that all the time. And a lot of times charities don't have money, but what they do have is sponsors. So, there's a sponsor will be like, here, Goats of Anarchy, here's, $10,000 for this quarter or whatever. So a portion of that can go to make it so that you can fly out there and do that event, or so that, and a lot of times when you do those types of actions, your trip will be completely reimbursed from the other clients you meet at that event. Like I can't tell you how many events that I've done where people are like, oh my gosh, I really love your work. Like, do you do pet portraits, or do you do hand painted ornaments, or like I need this portrait of my kid or whatever. So it's like you kind of ride the wave based on just showing up to be there. You can ride that wave to help make money in your life if you are indeed a full-time artist. I also wanted to say, for the person who was like, I do hair, like how can I make that a part of my activism? You can find a lot of like charity fashion shows. A lot of times, like there'll be like a fashion show for dogs, or arts, art for carts, or whatever it is. And you can contact them and say, hey, I'm a makeup artist, or I'm a hair artist, and I can make I can do all your models' hair for this event, and show up in that way. And then make sure you get good photos of your work so that you're building a portfolio. It's very, very important for artists and people who want to donate their talent and their time to these animals. If you want to have more gigs, you've got to have a killer portfolio. So it's all about the photos. So to the person who is like, I'm a photographer, I want to do photo, use my gift for that. There's two people that everybody should follow. Bobby Sudd on Instagram. He photographs the pigs that come into Farmer John's in LA. He is a National Geographic photographer, and he is a vegan animal rights activist, and his photos are just like perfection. And I've contacted him before to say, hey, I want to do this. I want to create this artwork based on your photo. Can I do that? And if you are going to be using somebody's photo to reproduce, you absolutely have to get permission from that artist. Otherwise, you're facing a copyright issue. So Bobby Sudd. Also, there's another lady in Austin named the Activist Photographer, who's great. And she, goes to these actions and like will take great photos of my work, so that my job is not to photograph. I take my own photos anyways, but if my concentration is, okay, I'm making this body painting, that's only 50% of what I'm there to do. I'm also there to talk about what the art means. And that is where the magic comes in. It's I learned how to talk about animal rights listening to Earthling Ed and listening to other activists. and watching all those videos that he's got on YouTube about, you know, how to talk to non-vegans and all of the arguments. And, you know, I listened to them over and over and over until I got my own language from that, and I can use my own words, and I'm approachable. You know, people aren't running away from me because I'm scaring them. And again, you know, it's so wonderful to be able to say, what do you think about the artwork? What does this mean to you? Because everybody is going to have their own perception of what your work means. And there's not a wrong answer. That's the beautiful thing about art, is that everybody can take something different with it. And, you know, it's wonderful to be able to like slip them, you know, a magazine, or to slip them some information, or, you know, a card that says, you know, that has resources on the back. And, you know, so important to be a friend with these other humans that are seeing your work, to make that connection. If you're a jerk and you're just, you know, not making that connection, then it's like a sugar cube dissolving in water. Like, how far is that gonna go? Right. It's a seed. It's all a seed planted. There's a place for all types of activism.
Exactly, and that's what I have to say. And that's what I really loved about seeing some of those photos that we were showing earlier, is that, you know, I could see you talking to people about your art, and that's kind of like your foot in the door. You're talking to them about the art, but as you're explaining to them about your art, I'm sure you're explaining, you know, what animals are actually going through and why you did this. And, you know, you're getting the education in there about what's happening to the animals. And, you know, obviously that is complementing your incredible artwork very nicely in an educational way that's activism. So somebody had a question for you. I had it and I just lost it. Mateus. So he says, I would like to know what kind of ink Shannon uses and if she knows of any natural inks for body painting.
Oh, sure. No problem. So I use makeup in my body painting. That's what's appropriate for skin. A lot of kind of some old school body painting is done with acrylic paint. That is not suitable for skin. And it's not durable, and it kind of looks, it doesn't look as good as it could. So I'm a professional, so I use professional materials. So what I use is actual body paint. And I take into consideration that my models might sweat, or they might get wet, or it might get really hot inside of the meat tray boxes. So I paint them with waterproof makeup. And the brand that I use is called Pro Air. It's an airbrush makeup that doesn't have any animal derivatives in it. Pro Air makes an ink, which is not vegan friendly. So I don't use the ink, I use the hybrid. And if you want to do, you know, animal rights activism at home, like paint yourself, paint your face, and you don't airbrush, I would suggest using Mehron. It's Mehron. You'll get like little cakes of makeup that are Mehron by Paradise by Mehron. That's a really good buttery makeup consistency. You know, and especially now during quarantine, I'm like painting myself more and more because there, you know, that I want to keep being active. So that's the answer for that question. Oh, and in closing, if there's no more questions for me, my mom wanted me to mention this idea. She said that you could paint little stones, if you're artistic, that have little animal faces on them, and then flip over the stone and it says challenge22.com, and you can just leave those around where people go walking, and you never know where, you know, who's gonna have a vegan advantage from that.
Yeah, I've actually heard of, I've actually followed someone on Instagram who does something like that. And I think it's Moen Stones, MOEN _stones on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And they paint these pictures of animals, or do paintings of animals on a rock or a stone or something. And then on the back, it says like Watch Dominion or Challenge 22. So yeah, that's a great idea. So we'll have Shannon back just in a minute for final thoughts. I'm going to bring Mikey back for just a second because somebody had a question for Mikey. They said, "What is stacktivism?"
It's a very good question. So stacktivism, and particularly in stores, it's a really easy form of activism to where, let us pretend that this bag of granola is not vegan, and let us not pretend that this bag of Superfoods blend is vegan. So what it is that if they're just on these shelves, you just take the vegan one and then just stack it on the non-vegan stuff. So that works for foods and that works for non-food as well. Let's say you are in a bookstore or even like still at the grocery store with a row of magazines, and you just grab those magazines of vegan magazines that promote like healthy living and whatnot, and then just put it along the lines and just cover the other stuff. And what it is that it's like that subtle promotion of like the good healthy stuff, right? That options are available and that they're just in abundance and they're everywhere. Because a lot of people think the pre-vegans, the people who are not vegan yet, they think that these options are non-existent, right? There's no options available for going vegan. That's why I cannot go vegan. You know, those type of typical excuses. But we're promoting it. You know, it's there and it's available, and there's a lot of it. So that is what stacktivism is, and it's a super fun and simple way to promote vegan options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to check that out further, there's a video of Mikey on YouTube on the Animal Activism Mentorship YouTube page. And you can find that there. If you would like that, remind me and I will try to link it in the comments so that you can check that out. It's a really cool video that you can share with others and get inspired to do some stacktivism. So thanks, Mikey. I'm going to check and see if we have any other questions. And if we don't, we will probably wrap up and give some final thoughts. Heather, who's on our panel, said, I taught my youngest to do stacktivism, which is really cool. Great to see the young folks getting in there and doing some stacktivism. So really cool. Ryan said about stacktivism, sometimes I turn the non-vegan stuff around or push it back and make it harder to find. That's so cool. Another thing you can do in the grocery store, just don't get caught, is you can put stickers on stuff and stuff like that you know, have like a QR code and you scan it and then it goes to like dominion.com or something like that. Yeah, I don't think we have any more questions. So we're gonna get started with our final thoughts. Mikey, I'll bring you back first for final thoughts to everyone and what you hope people got out of this and how people can find you on social media and all that good stuff.
All right, fantastic. So if you guys haven't caught it yet, like I already dropped it on the comments on where you guys can follow me. I have my Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok account. So yeah, you guys can find me there. All of it is just at MeatFree Mikee, all one word, no spaces, no special characters and whatnot. But my final thoughts, for one, is thank you to all the panelists that are here. You guys are truly amazing and great work. It's amazing to see like all that stuff and like just being in this panel and viewing all of your work that's being featured. Truly amazing and truly inspiring. And that goes along with you as well, Trey. Thank you very much for putting this up. And like we are all looking forward to more of these panel live, Facebook live events. But my final thoughts, go out there, be the voice. It's super easy. I know a lot of people have a tendency to just sit and prepare. But I tell you what, like, you will never be prepared. There's always going to be something, and there's always going to be these animals that we have to fight for, right? Because the longer we wait, the more suffering is happening. So no better time than now. And really, we all have to come together for this. And maybe your talents can inspire others to do the same. Maybe your talents can inspire others to go vegan. Because something that I failed to mention a while ago is that for those 3 sanctuaries that we helped out, it's not all donations by vegans or activists. You know, there are pre-vegans that helped out too, because everyone really, if you think about it, has a tendency to be vegan. We just have to use our talents to help them explore that more, and then maybe, you know, they go vegan.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I wanted to say about that is by raising those funds for those sanctuaries, not only are you helping those animals out, but you know, most sanctuaries, whether it be through personal visits or online posts, they reach people, and that is outreach as well. You know, they're showing people, you know, how cute these animals are, and that they have their own lives and they have their own personalities, and you know, they're just like us in so many ways, and they deserve to live. They deserve to live a nice life, and don't deserve to have their lives taken from them and their freedom taken from them and their families taken from them. So it's kind of one of those things, you know, I mean, you're directly helping those animals in that sanctuary or those sanctuaries, but you're also putting that goodness out into the world where, you know, they can in turn keep doing what they're doing and reach people as well. So thanks for sharing everything with us, MeatFree Mikee. He's the man. Give him a follow. Appreciate you being here, Mikee.
Thank you.
And next, we are going to come to Heather for some final thoughts. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Heather.
Thank you for having me, Trey. Double. Well, I guess my final thoughts are I'm blown away by everyone's special skills in this panel. And thank you for hosting it. But I guess I just want people to know, like, don't be intimidated. I think we keep hearing this word like talent and special skill, but we all possess something. You know, you may think like, oh, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't make jewelry, but you have ideas. Like we all can contribute in different ways. And something beautiful that I've found since creating Times for Change is just connecting with other activists more. And I have people email me all the time and they share their ideas with me. They're like, you know, I don't make jewelry, but perhaps you could do this. You know, we have a mutual friend, Casey, and he is full of ideas. Like he messages me quite frequently, and he's like, I think, you know, maybe you could use a fork, or I mean, not a fork, you could use a spoon. So I made spoon cuffs, you know, because of him. Like he gave me the idea. So it's just like about collaborating with others, you know, just.
Yeah, and I will use that spoon thing to segue to the fact that you saw it. I hope everybody saw it while we were showing the photos of some of Heather's work, but one of those were dog tags for my dogs, Onion and Bean, that Heather made out of a spoon. I just thought that was so cool, and they're wearing those right now. We love it. So yeah, thanks so much for being here, Heather, and for sharing your talents and all your wisdom. We appreciate it. So up next, I'm gonna bring up Naomi. I'm sure it's probably like past her bedtime, so we gotta get her out of here, right? over in the UK.
It's almost 1 a.m. so I am starting to be like, it's getting a bit tired. But everyone's so interesting and inspiring. I'm like, must listen, must stay awake.
Well,
yeah.
Well, we'll get you out of here in a minute. Just share your final thoughts with us.
I think a lot of what other people have said are things that I've been thinking as well. One thing that I wanted to mention was how, like other people have said, using your skills or talents to help out other sanctuaries and rescues or other activists is really important. And I find that the most fulfilling part of my work is doing that. So making a load of Christmas cards for the local dog sanctuary, or having cards that raise funds for certain rescues. I really enjoy doing that. So whatever your kind of skill that you find or whatever you do, I think finding those connections or people who need the help and kind of link in with your skill, it just kind of inspires you even more to kind of do your own thing more, because they're so appreciative of it and you really feel like you're helping and you're making an impact. And yeah, that's just really good, as well as being great for the animals in those sanctuaries. I think that yeah, it's a good kind of boost to keep somebody motivated with that. And going back to my bats, I forgot to say I'm doing a launch of a series of artwork on the 1st of July. I'm releasing it at 7 o'clock in the evening UK time, so probably around this time wherever you are. And some of the profits from that will actually go back into the bat rescue. So if you're really into bats, come and buy something and support me, because that would be great. And also, in linking with other creatives and artists, I'm part of a group called the Art of Compassion Project, and there's, I think, almost 300 of us, that might be wrong, who are all vegan creatives who all work together, and we do projects throughout the year that we totally volunteer our time for, to create money for all different charities and rescues all across the world. And being part of that group has been really amazing, because people have mentored me and I've spoken to other people, and the connections we've made there, and we've gone to events together, has been really crucial. So finding your group of people who you can kind of depend on and who will support you and encourage you when you need that is also just super key to keep going and yeah, being active for the animals. So yeah, go forth and make creative things for the animals.
Wow, thanks for all that wisdom. And I know it's late over there. I really appreciate you giving us your time, and maybe not getting a little less sleep than you normally would. Really appreciate you being here and being a part of the panel, and thanks for everything you shared.
Thank you so much for putting the panel together. It's the first live I've ever done, so yeah, but you've done it really amazingly, and I'm really appreciative to be involved in this.
Well, we're so thrilled to have had you. Thank you so much, Naomi. All right, so we appreciate Naomi being here, and next we're gonna bring in Victoria for some final thoughts. Victoria, what are your final thoughts?
I guess my final thoughts would be that I think people get caught up in the idea that their activism has to be good enough, which just isn't true. All activism is equally as important, and when you find what works for you, to just really run with it. Because as human beings, we have the incredible privilege to amplify the voices of animals, and I think that it is sort of our moral imperative as vegans to fight for them, because if not us, then who else? So yeah, your activism doesn't need to be good enough. All forms of activism are important in their own spectrum, and you should just do it. Don't let anything hold you back. Those are my final words.
I think that's incredible advice, Victoria, and I think that's part of what this panel is all about. Sometimes when people think of the word activist, they think of someone who's out on the street, doing vigils, doing outreach events and protests and direct action, and all those forms of activism are fantastic. I recommend all of them. They're great, but there's just so many forms of activism, and it's really about where you can be the most effective. And if you have something to bring to the table, like what we've been talking about all night. Sometimes that's one of the most effective things you can do. So I think those are very wise words, Victoria. I really appreciate you being here with us and sharing your awesome Animal Crossing activism with us. All right. Thanks, Victoria. And finally, we're going to come to Shannon for her final thoughts.
Okay, final thoughts. Wow, you guys, to everybody out there who's made it all the way to the end, congratulations, you guys made it. Okay, so I've got final thoughts. In regards to art activism or any kind of activism, when you're talking with other people, put yourself in their shoes and imagine, like, hardly any of us were, born into a vegan family. So you've got to revert back in your brain to where they are, and ask yourself, what can you do or say to them about your artwork to make an impact? So making art is just this much of it. The rest of it is the explanation. And some art doesn't need an explanation. But when you can talk about your art, and when you make art, you're responsible for that content, and you're also responsible to defend it. So it's very smart, in my opinion, to have words to back up your artwork. The next point, don't wait. If you wait and say, this is such a great idea, I'm going to do it when quarantine is over, or I'm going to do it when I'm more financially ready to do that, or I'm going to do it when. No, start now. Start now. If you start the ball rolling now, imagine, project yourself 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years ahead. And, that image of where you want to be will be here sooner. Next, create a plan, create an outline, plan for your success. So this needs to happen first. This needs to happen second. These are the people I need to talk to. Those kinds of things. So start now by using a plan and physically write it down. Be kind to people. Be tolerant with people. Not tolerant or allowing of a carnist lifestyle, but tolerant of where people are in their vegan journey. Because I'm looking through the world with glasses that we're moving towards animal liberation. It is going to happen. Everyone is going to come to a place in their life where they're going to decide that they have to go vegan for the animals, because what is happening in the world with animals is not acceptable. And we're, with everything going on right now, it's a fight about equality and brutality, and these are issues that are absolutely happening with the animals. So people cannot just ostrich syndrome it anymore and pretend like it's not happening. With your art, you've also got to be on social media and on Facebook, and you've got to post things. If you're not somebody who wants to post a lot of graphic things, don't post graphic things. Post animals having fun and cows playing with balls, and post recipes, and post what you're eating for your food. Like, all of that is activism that also can, branch out to your art activism, your photography, or your workouts, or whatever it is that you're doing as a part of your arts activism. And lastly, support other artists and activists. Network, because collaborations can be awesome. Like, okay, so I'm a body painter. So imagine if I've got an event that I've got to do a body painting for, and MeatFree Mike declares his body a canvas for me. Like, how awesome would that be, right?
Very awesome. We got to make that happen.
So collaborate, love each other and collaborate. and support each other, network. When if I see, Maria Leonardi is doing something over here that's really badass, I'm going to share her action with the world, and it share. And that's how we're going to make a vegan world. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you so much for all of that, Shannon. Really appreciate you being here with us. And I can't wait to wrap up Skin Wars. Like I said, I think I'm not even halfway through yet, but I'm hooked. I'm usually not super into reality shows, but this one I'm in it. So
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good, and none of it of the show is fake. So, the only fake part, like when we had to go in and meet each other and be like, "Hi, I'm Shannon." Like we had all just had breakfast together, but the rest of it is authentic. It's a great show, so everybody go watch Skin Wars. And realize I wasn't vegan at the time. We're all starting different places. So people who are like, "Oh, I love animals," great. That's a wonderful springboard for a future vegan.
Absolutely.
Like me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Shannon. Again, check her out, Netflix, Skin Wars. Yeah. So I just want to thank our panelists. I knew I was going to be inspired when I started coming up with the idea for this, but I'm just so unbelievably inspired by all of them. I hope that you are too. I can't thank all of you panelists enough for being on here, and thanks so much for tuning in and checking this out. Share some of these ideas with other activists. If you know somebody who maybe didn't get to watch this, you can either share the live stream or just just tell them about the ideas and the concept of just using what you already know how to do for the animals and stuff like that. And we're not trying to discourage anyone from learning new skills or doing some of the more well-known types of activism by any means. I would love for everyone to do those things too. But if you have a special skill, it's imperative to find a way to use it for the animals. If you weren't able to catch all of this, I am going to keep it on my Facebook page so that you can go back and rewatch. I'm also in a day or two going to put this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, so you can also check it out there, and that'll be a little more easily shareable. Something else I want to plug real quick is Animal Activism Mentorship. So this panel was not technically affiliated with Animal Activism Mentorship, but I'm involved with that group, and so are a few of our panelists here. They are mentors. So if you don't know how to get your activism started, if you've got that burning desire in your heart to speak up for animals and take action on behalf of animals, go to animalactivismmentorship.com and sign up, and you'll get a mentor who can kind of help you navigate some of this stuff and figure out what your special skill is, what your talents are. If maybe you're not thinking the right way about it, you don't realize that you have something great to offer, but maybe a mentor can help you figure that out. So that's animalactivismmentorship.com. If you're watching this and you're not vegan, you can see everybody on this panel is very passionate about animal rights, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that, everyone on the panel, when I say that, animals, they're just suffering so much. Today I looked at a map of like all of the slaughterhouses and testing facilities and factory farms and stuff like that. And if you just look at a map of it in the US alone, it's just overwhelming to even look at the amount of suffering that happens with these animals. And they're just like me and you in a lot of ways, in all the ways that matter. We are the same as animals. They want to live. Many of them want to be with their families. They want their freedom. So if you're not vegan, all going vegan really means is that if you're an animal lover, you're aligning your actions with your morals. And you don't even have to love animals. You just, all you have to do is just believe in justice, really. Believe in justice, because yeah, these animals don't deserve what they're going through, and our connection with an animal doesn't determine their worth. So just because you didn't know the animal doesn't mean that they didn't want to live. So if you're not vegan, please go to watchdominion.com and learn a little bit more about what the animals go through. And if you're trying to go vegan, go to challenge22.com. That's challenge22.com. They will link you up with mentors and registered dietitians who will cater specifically to you for free. Where else can you get that kind of a service, and it's for free? And it's just, you know, people just like us who have volunteered our time today to spread the word about animals and different forms of activism to help animals. They're volunteers too who just want to help animals. So go to challenge22.com and yeah, get it started with going vegan if you're not already. And if you're an activist, I hope you really gained something from this. Send me your feedback. If you've got any ideas for future panels, future discussions, let me know. If you know of like a really awesome person that you just really want, that really just needs to be on a panel, you know, let me know about that person. And I've got so many people in mind already. It's just we're doing these once a month. So yeah, I've already have a lot of people in mind that I want to get on these, but feel free to share that with me. So again, thank you so much. And I appreciate you all being here. Get active for the animals. Thanks so much.